Okay, so the next principle, we already talked about friction, we're going to introduce the next one. The next one is leverage. We want to maximize our leverage on the gun. We want to minimize the gun's leverage on us. What does that mean? Right? If we could, so the bullet exits in this spot here. If we could realistically grip the gun like this and be able to have the gun cycle and do everything we want it to do, that would be ideal, because the bullet is exiting up here, right? And we are holding directly behind it. If you shot this way, the gun will go straight back and straight forward. Now, we can't grab that high. Obviously, the gun wouldn't cycle. So what we want to do is we want to get as close to that line as possible without interfering with our controls, right? Safety in this case, slide release here, and mag release on this Gerson 2311. So what we want to do, there's 4 points to that. One, the web of our hand, we want to get as high into the back strap of the gun, right? We want to get it up and high into the beaver tail there. Point number 2, our firing hand middle finger knuckle, we want to make sure it contacts the trigger guard, right? Gives it a nice, there's no gap there at all. It's not sitting a bit low like this. It's actually right up just against it. That's where a lot of times after a lot of training we get this callus that I have on my finger here. Right? So number 3, we have this panel available to us, and we take the palm, the thumb side palm, or the chicken drum of our hand, and we fill that gap. Right? We get it as high as we can without interfering with the mag release, and we try to make sure we're not pressing down on the slide release with either our support hand thumb or our firing hand thumb. If for some reason, like we have a polymer gun here, right? And we don't want to get on the slide release with our thumb, we could just move our thumb over here. Right? That's a very simple way to not have to hit the slide release. Right, so that's point number 3. Chicken drum fills the area. And lastly, we want our middle knuckle of our index finger on our support hand to contact the trigger guard. And as a result of what we talk about in the next principle of efficiency, we want to apply upward pressure on the trigger guard with that finger. Now, what does that do? When the gun cycles, the gun goes back. When it hits the rearmost point of travel, it rotates up because we're underneath the bore of the gun. When the slide closes, the gun wants to move a little bit forward. So that upward pressure, that little bit of upward pressure that's done through the elbows, which we'll talk about in a minute, allows the gun to not dip as much, or if at all. Right? So, we have those 4 points, right? Web of the hand, middle knuckle, chicken drum, middle knuckle of the index finger. Applies upward pressure. Now let's get on to the last principle of efficiency.